A lot of organizations struggle to articulate their AI ethical risk standards in a way that's concrete and action guiding. There are at least two tools that companies should make use of. Number one is quite familiar, AI ethics statements. These are often done in a way that's not action guiding, but when they're done well, and I've discussed this in another video, when they're done well, they are action guiding by virtue of providing the guardrails within which organizations can act. Now, what that leaves empty, though, is all that space in between the guardrails. There's lots of gray areas, and then the question is, how do we address those ethical risk gray areas in a systematic, effective, and consistent way? The answer, I think, is by creating what I call internal ethical case law. So you might be familiar with just case law, because you're familiar with how, for instance, the Supreme Court in principle operates, or other kinds of juries are meant to operate. Yes, you've got the Constitution, but you also have legal case law, which is to say how similar kinds of cases to the one that you're considering now have been decided upon. That is to say, how various principles of the Constitution and other case law was applied to the new case. The rationale here is that if you understand the grounds on which that previous case was decided, and those seem to be pretty good grounds on which they were decided, then when you come to this novel case, you can ask whether it's sufficiently similar to that previous case such that you should come to the same conclusion about this novel case, or if instead it's sufficiently dissimilar such that your conclusion should be different. That's legal case law. Ethical case law is just like that, with the exception that the ethical case law doesn't exist. You have to create it within your organization. So if you can get together with the appropriate executives, have something like 3 to 7 hypothetical scenarios that perhaps you actually did confront in the past, or a peer organization faced, or it's a scenario that you anticipate facing in the not too distant future, and you can deliberate about those ethical gray cases, come to something like a consensus about how the organization ought to treat those gray area cases, those kinds of deliberations and the decisions that are made, when well documented and shared, can play a crucial role in how everyone else in the organization approaches those ethical gray area cases. So it's not just your high-level principles and the guardrails that they specify that aid in deliberation, it's also how your organization has decided on particular real or hypothetical ethical cases, and ensuring that referencing those cases, making use of those cases, becomes a part of deliberation about the case that you're facing today.